Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows, like the Multiverse Fancast, which definitely still exists, and MF Uncensored. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul, and with me via the Zoom studio is the guy who just said that he keeps the entire show going, Sean. Sean, how are you today?
I'm just wonderful. I stand by my statement.
Yep. So, starting with this episode, all the editing, promotion, and everything's gonna be done by Sean. And you guys let me know.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. What's the name of the
Sure.
editing software I use?
Edidroid.
Edit. Did you just making that up?
No, Edidroid's a real thing. It's a Lucasfilm.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But no, that's not what we use. But okay, you're so handsome. You're so
I
handsome.
know.
Anywho, as always, thank you guys for listening, and happy holiday season for all you guys. At time of release, it is the day after Christmas.
Oh, Christmas was awesome.
Christmas was awesome. It was a Christmas miracle. We don't know. It's not Christmas yet. We're actually recording beforehand. Whoa, it's like time travel.
And seriously, it's like, can we guess what the lottery numbers are in a couple days?
It
Who
isn't the draw.
knows?
I think the drawing's tonight.
I think it's either today's
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah,
yeah.
Saturday.
So it's like 600 mil.
I know, right? I don't get out of bed for less than 700.
Oh, God. I mean, Jesus. Why even bother if you're going to
Yeah, I
only
mean,
win $500 million?
after taxes.
Yeah. In the state of New York, that'll be gone in a week.
That's like a month of mortgage and heating costs. Now we just bought $30 worth of Duraflames just so we could save on the heating bill.
Well, we got a little plug-in heater that we'll use instead of turning on the actual
Mm.
heat.
Yep. Merry Christmas, everyone. Anywho,
Mm.
so we thought it might be fun to do an episode that does have some Christmas motif to it, because in the original adaptation, the stage adaptation, that it takes place all on Christmas Eve.
That is correct.
And I will say that it is the more realistic option that they changed it for the film, and that is the 2005
Ooh,
release of Rent, the movie, not the musical.
no, the movie of the musical.
But
That was
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This is a long time ago. I don't want to talk about it.
18 years ago. Holy mother of God.
Oh
That's
God,
crazy.
I can't talk about that. I feel like that movie was like, it's weird. Like Sean and I were talking about this movie before we actually started recording, and I didn't realize that it didn't do well at the box office at the time. But I feel like everybody was talking about it when it came out.
Yeah, I mean the show was still extremely popular, playing on Broadway. I mean, I think it'd been on Broadway for at least not 10 years yet, but it had been on for a significant amount of time. And I'm still shocked to the day that this movie did not do well. Now, am I expecting like blockbuster numbers? No, but like at least make your budget back. At least make a significant amount beyond what your budget was. It was very surprising.
Especially it was
Now,
a November release. Like there wasn't much else going on.
yeah, I mean November of 2005. It's not like we didn't even have a Harry Potter movie that year, or did we? Maybe we did.
Uh,
That might have been Goblet of Fire. So maybe that was another reason why it didn't make a lot of money. I don't know, but. Yeah, I can't explain it. I personally really enjoy this movie. I think it's very well done. Is it perfect? No. We'll get into it a little more as we go on. Maybe what we think could have been done better. But you and I have differing opinions between. Because I know, like when the movie came out, you were big on the movie soundtrack, but I was still big on listening to the actual Broadway version. And because there are many differences,
oh yeah.
the way there's a lot of stuff that was cut out of the show to obviously fit into the movie and make the movie seem, more realistic. But
So
that's always happens between adapting a Broadway show into a movie. It's very rare you go straight from a show to the movie and there's no changes.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the play, the musical of Rent, it's a rock opera, and most of the dialogue is sung.
Yes,
Y-
it's very rare you get like an actual just talking. It's like a lot of it is you're talking to music, so it's done and yeah, very rock opera
Yeah,
type
like
done. And the movie doesn't do that.
I've heard the original soundtrack. Like I've listened to both, because I am an equal opportunity music listener to guy. It in my head it
Sure,
sounded way better.
sure.
But same thing when Sweeney Todd came out. Like I wanted to hear the original, and the original music is fantastic for Sweeney Todd. It's totally different beasts though. A Broadway show script and a movie script are very different. That's why, like when Hamilton was rolling around, they just filmed the actual, and they did that a lot.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing. I remember watching a lot of like I remember watching like Peter Pan. Like I had like a
Oh
video of
God,
Peter
yeah, the
Pan.
old Peter Pan.
Yeah.
The Sweeney Todd did it. The original, not yeah, Angela Lansbury. They
Hmm.
they did it. There's a film version of the original
I watched it. It's
Broadway
all on.
Sweeney Todd that
It's
pops
on.
up every now and then on TV, and that's really interesting to watch.
I
As
think
you said, Peter Pan,
I watched it on YouTube.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't shock me if eventually Lin-Manuel Miranda does do a film version of Hamilton, but I just feel like that's something you just don't touch.
Right.
I think that's something you that is just so unbelievable to see live on stage that I feel like a movie version of it would just kind of
Take away from it.
take away from it. And you could honestly say the same thing about Rent. I don't agree with that statement, but there is a. You didn't see the show, right? You didn't see it.
No, I never saw it.
No, I was lucky enough. I got to see it, and it was an experience to watch. I mean, it really was fantastic. So there is like a what do you call it? Like a feeling of seeing something live, and then when you see the movie version, you're kind of like, it just doesn't land as well as it did, seeing it in person.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. Some movies, some shows do better as a movie than they do as a show, and some shows do better as a show than they do as a movie.
Well,
I mean,
I'll even go the opposite. Like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, they released the book,
okay,
and there are people that can't
yeah,
read the book, which is hilarious considering it went book, movie, play, book, and
yeah. But I mean,
because
again, and
it's
I
written
fully
like a
recommend you.
play.
I fully recommend you see the show. The whole point of the show is I don't think it's the story that's the factor. It's all the effects
Oh
that they
yeah.
pull off in the show is what makes that amazing.
Well, it was
It's
the
like
Spider-Man show. You remember that? Like that whole big like production that they did,
Spider-Man. Turn off the dart.
and it was like the show itself wasn't that good, like script-wise, but apparently like the effects were fantastic. But too
Oh
many
yeah, the
people
stunts and all
almost
that stuff.
died.
What was that? There was a movie where like someone goes, "Well, you know what happened in that Spider-Man? Things didn't go right and people died." And they're like, "No, they didn't." But I can't remember what movie that was from, and it's gonna bother me now.
Oh yeah.
But no, it and then we mentioned it right before we started recording. Like this movie came out in 2005, and there was like a rejuvenation of the film version of musicals because Chicago. Well, it started with Moulin Rouge
Mm.
in 2001. That was like an original movie musical that just blew everybody away. Then you get Chicago, which won Academy Awards and was a very, very good movie. And that's the definition of a movie that's better, in my opinion, than the show.
Yeah.
Like I've seen the show live, and the show just doesn't do the same as what the movie does. So then you get this, you get the producers, you get Hairspray, and it really kind of Sweeney Todd comes out a couple years later, and now we're kind of in that lull again, where we're going to get Wicked next year,
Hmm.
which I'm not looking forward to at all, but whatever. So I think that's another one where I feel like it's only works on the stage, but
Right.
say,
Well, it's funny because I actually liked Hairspray. I dug it,
yeah, I did too. I thought it was very, very good,
and like
enjoyable.
and this movie I thoroughly enjoyed too. I mean, it's like
I
you
do
said,
too.
it's not without its faults, and there's some questionable choices. And then obviously you listen to like the movie soundtrack; it's very different compared to the actual Broadway soundtrack. Because what they do is they do a lot more exposition during the songs.
Yeah.
So like the script is still going when the song's happening. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just and they had to cut stuff. The
Oh yeah.
I'm sure the Broadway musical is at least 3 hours with intermission.
Uh, yeah, probably like 2.5,
Yeah.
maybe. But the
So
whole in the Broadway show, you have basically the background singers are all portraying, the homeless
yeah.
people of New York and just random. And there's a lot of stuff where they're singing, like backup, or there's like certain songs that they sing. Obviously, they cut that all out of the movie
Yeah.
which I understand. I totally get that. It just that would not translate well to film.
Well, it's like Sweeney Todd. You had the ballads of Sweeney Todd that would be
Yeah,
played. Yeah. which,
I mean, I remember we saw Sweeney Todd, and I was like, I was a little bummed that they cut that out, but I was like, I get it because it just takes away from the movie. It's literally a play starting with the ghost of Sweeney Todd telling everybody, here comes a interesting story. So I get it. I totally get it.
I do love
But we
that.
definitely have. Go ahead.
I do love the opening ballads of Sweeney Todd. Oh,
Oh,
it's so good.
dude, I'm telling you, well, it's too late now. They're going to be gone in a couple of weeks, but the show that's in Broadway right now is fantastic. It's so good.
What show? Yeah, no, we never got tickets to it.
Josh Groban, fantastic.
Uh,
So good.
it's too expensive
But
to go to Broadway.
uh, it's not that bad. I mean, you can get decent seats for $100 a ticket. It's not.
I have
I
a
mean, if you want to sit like ridiculously close to the stage, yeah, you're gonna be paying a pretty penny. But you get balcony seats, and I've never had an issue of being blocked in a balcony in a theater. So, but
I'm gonna wear my finest top hat the next time I go to the show.
there you
My
go.
God, guy can't see. But anyway, so
But this movie, we'll get into the cast now, and this movie actually does what a lot of musicals don't do, is they brought in not all, but
like
significant
95%.
amount
Yeah.
of the original actors who portrayed the characters on Broadway. You could argue that that was one of their faults
Mm.
for this movie. You can argue it, just saying, but I mean, literally out of the six main characters, no, I'm sorry, eight main characters, six of them were original cast members. And the two that are not are Rosario Dawson playing Mimi and Tracy Thoms playing Joanne. I don't know why the other two were not brought back. They might have been older than the other actors that they just were like, I can't do this. But I actually thought Rosario Dawson did a hell of a job.
Oh, she did a great job, and Mimi,
And,
come on, Mimi.
yeah, and this was before Clerks too. I mean, this was like right before that,
This was it
and
was
no one,
after
no one.
it was after what's it called? It was after Sin City.
Yes,
So like Rosario Dawson before this came out. So Rent was 2005. Sin City was the same year. Oh crap.
obviously we first saw her in Men in Black 2.
Men in Black 2. No, Sean, we first saw her in Josie and the Pussycats.
Never watched that movie.
Josie, yeah, she was in. Let's see. Oh, she was in Down to You with Freddie Prinze Jr. I vaguely remember that movie.
Down to You. I don't know that movie.
It's
No.
with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Julia Stiles. Let's see. Yeah,
Okay.
back when that was like an award-winning cast. Like that was 2000. That's a very 2000 cast right there. Josie and the Pussycats. Men in Black 2 was 2002. The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Oh no. Oh no. One day, one of our shows will talk about that. And then really nothing like big until Sin City was probably her next biggest one. And then Rent, Clerks 2. Yeah, that's really where she kind of exploded.
Yeah.
Good for
And
her.
no one knew she could. I didn't, because again, I had not seen Josie and the Pussycats, so I didn't know how she was going to be singing, and she was really good.
Oh, I forgot that she was in Percy Jackson and the the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. She played Persephone. Yeah. But yeah, she had some pipes. We were kind of surprised, and she could dance.
Yeah.
So let's go through the main cast. Obviously, we have Anthony Rapp as Mark Cohen. He's a filmmaker. He's Roger's roommate, and Maureen just dumped him for Joanne. And another trope they also take out of this, or another expositional point, is the answering machine.
Well, they have it later on in the movie,
Like
but
once.
yeah, but that was a big thing in the show, having his parents or his mom call him, and then again, it's like, you're singing to him like, "We're sorry, Maureen dumped you."
Yeah. So I hate to say, like, I like Anthony Rapp, but in all honesty, like, he hasn't done much career wise. Like he was big for this.
He's been more of a stage actor. I mean, I remember him from Road Trip.
Yeah.
He's
Oh
the
yeah, he's the bad
douche
guy.
in Road Trip. But again, he's been a Broadway. He'd been mostly a stage actor for most of
Oh
his
my
life. I mean, he
God.
really didn't do much in film.
He was in Adventures in Babysitting. That was his first film.
Oh God.
That's a deep cut. Road Trip, Rent. Yeah, not a whole lot. Some television too. But I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to be mean, but he is more famous for accusing Kevin Spacey at this point. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big thing too. But anyway, he's fine in it, and obviously he brings he brings his own character to life. I'm curious, like, do you think that having all so many of the actors reprise their roles, you mentioned that it wasn't necessarily to the benefit of the film. Do you feel that way about all of them or just some of them?
Again, I usually, if you go back and you look at movies made from Broadway shows, very much of the time you'll cast a big name actor in the movie because obviously it makes sense. A lot of times Broadway actors are lesser known, whatever. And I mean, I remember hearing that when this movie was being cast, they were like, it's 2005. Who do we get for this movie? Like, were they trying to get names? Were they trying to find up and coming singers that could just do the characters? And it just how so happened that all these actors were still around and they were coming to check out the set. And they were all, I mean, still fairly young, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like, they were not as young as they were when they did the show. And that's why they all got cast. They all still looked very good,
Yeah.
literally. But I think they all do a good job. I can't explain it why, again, why it didn't work. I don't know. I really don't know. It's one of those. Again, I watched this movie numerous times. And I'm like, why did this movie not do well? I don't know.
Going down the list, we have
Um,
Adam Pascal as Roger. He's an HIV
mhm.
positive ex addict rock musician. So each of them have their thing that they're trying to do. They have their defining character thing. I really
Yeah,
wish real life worked like that sometimes. Like obviously we have friends that have like singular interests, but none of them are like this is my thing. I'm going to do just this thing and it defines who I am. Like yes, I have podcast shirts that I walk around with. By the way, new podcast shirt dropped on misfitfaction.com. Check that out.
woo!
Yeah. But like it's not if somebody starts talking to me like, "Hey, what are you up to?" I'm not going to be like, "Have you heard about my podcast?" That I mean like that's a terrible way to start a conversation, as said in Family
But what are
Guy.
you talking about, Paul? I saw you on the side of the street the other day with a sign that says, "Listen to my podcast,
Ask
please."
me about my podcast. Yeah, we gotta do that movie at some point. But anywho,
Mhm.
so
Add it to the list.
yep. Anywho, so we have Adam Pascal. He plays Roger, and he's fine in it. He's supposed to be like 24 or something like that.
Yeah, again, that's the problem. All these characters are supposed to be in their early 20s, and I'm sorry, it's just obvious that they're not.
Rosario.
Again, you could say that that's the problem with the casting. You could also say that maybe just casting the same actors that were on stage, it just doesn't translate to the screen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, that's not a knock on them. It's just maybe it just doesn't. It didn't give the movie the juice that it needed. I don't know,
Well, so
but
uh, I can't tell you. I'm not a Hollywood executive.
I mean, Jesse L. Martin, is next as Tom Collins, and I mean, we knew Jesse L. Martin from Law and Order. I mean,
It's
he was.
funny. I wasn't a big fan of the original Law and Order. I watched SVU, so I actually am more
So I
familiar.
was I was into I was into the original Law and Order, and
Yeah,
I liked his fears on the show.
I'm more of a fan of
Well,
him
you love
from
him from the
The
Flash
Flash.
now.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was where I learned Papa Joe. That's what they called him, Papa Joe. But
but he actually took a leave from Law and Order. They literally like shot him in the show, put him in like a coma, and then they cast Michael Imperioli for like a month or two while he was out filming Rent.
hmm.
So I remember that was like a big thing when that happened.
I like him. He's got some pipes. He's got just like
Oh, he's a great singer,
he's a
fantastic
great
singer.
singer. I wish they did more with that on The Flash. Like they do a lot with like Grant Gustin and all them, but like
Yeah,
and him and Melissa Benoist like did some songs together. But like to get Jesse L. Martin, like come on, let him sing, man. And he's
doesn't
just
he have the? Doesn't they have that episode where like he dreams they're like in the 30s or something like that?
yeah. I don't
I thought,
remember if he sings in it because that's the thing also about CW casts. They're all multi talented, except
oh
acting
yeah,
is like the lowest part half the time. But they can all sing, dance, and do all these things. Like it's hilarious watching a CW show at the beginning of it toward and then watching it at the end because they all learn, they all get better.
yeah.
As much as I love Stephen Amell, he was not good that first season, and I don't know if that was just reflective of the direction or whatever. And that could be another thing. Like this movie was directed by Chris Columbus, who's no slouch in the directing field.
And it was a shocker that he was chosen to direct the movie. I mean, this is fresh off of the first two Harry Potter movies. Like he even says, like, I really want because he talks about how he was in New York City during the 80s and he, went through a lot of what these young people did. and he loved the show, and he really pitched to Jonathan Larson's family. It's like, trust me, I can do this, and I thought he did a good job. I really did.
I feel like we're
It
gonna
was
have to
his
keep the
first real dramatic kind of feel movie, besides like Stepmom and
oh
you could argue
stepmom.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, we will. You should listen to our episode of Mrs. Doubtfire. We argued a lot of different tonal points in that, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
And we're really good at
so good.
podcasting. That's what I tell people.
Sure.
But he's, he plays Tom Collins, and this is also this movie is very anti-authority, very anti like the establishment, the man, the type like that type mentality, and almost everyone has AIDS in it. So just as they said in the off-Broadway production of Lease from Team America, everyone has AIDS. Like that's a big part of this movie because it takes place in from 1989 to
1989.
to 1990.
Yeah, this is right during the major
AIDS.
AIDS crisis that was happening in the cities.
And so he's an openly gay man, and that's how he got AIDS. And we find out that Roger got it from being an addict and sharing needles. So
So
it's a
Rosario, Mimi as well.
yeah. So I do like Tom Collins in this. I really do. Like the whole point of him is just like, screw the establishment. I hate you all, but I'm awesome. And
Yeah.
some of his musical numbers are my favorites.
The one thing I will say that the movie did better than the show in the show, it is Tom Collins and Angel, like their love story drives the show.
Right.
In the movie, I think it's still very high point, but I think the Roger and Mimi love story kind of took off a little more in the movie than it did in the show. And I think that relationship a little outshines the Angel and Tom Collins relationship in the movie version.
All right. I'm going to be a little
Still,
controversial.
mhm,
That is purely a Hollywood direction.
probably, yeah,
I'm gonna
I
say
believe it.
this, and not that I agree with it under any circumstances, but especially in the early 2000s, there were still a lot of stereotypes that people who went to see theater were a little bit more open minded and stuff like that. People who went to the movies wanted characters that they could more closely, quote unquote, relate to, and they're
But it's not like they hid it's still there.
it's still there. It's still there, but I can definitely see.
They didn't like I don't feel like they shrunk it. I feel like they overdid the Mimi and Roger relationship. Not
And
badly, but they definitely,
what I'm saying though is
upgraded that.
that was definitely either a test
Uh,
audience reaction or it was a Hollywood decision. Like,
Maybe.
you don't watch The Boys.
No, I don't.
Oh, you got to watch The Boys because like they show all like the
You keep
Hollywood.
telling me this.
You
I,
gotta
I
watch it.
guarantee you. I know. It's like every other episode, you're like, "Do you watch The Boys?" And I'm like, "No, I've told you this numerous times. I don't watch. I haven't watched it. It's
Uh,
just funny.
I'm gonna keep annoying you about it. But anyway,
That's fine.
they have a whole
I'm
they have a whole bit when they're making the like of all the managing of the talent behind the scenes, and it's like, holy crap! I'm sure Hollywood is exactly like this. But anywho, going down.
okay.
Oh,
Sorry, real quick. I just read here on Wikipedia that the original Mimi in the show, Daphne Rubin Vega, was pregnant at the time of the movie's casting and filming, and that's why she didn't do the movie. And then the original Joanne was significantly older than the rest of the cast back when the show came out, so she was like, I can't do this.
yeah, that's fair.
So they
All right, now we found out through our very reliable Wikipedia source.
I trust that. I believe it.
We
It makes sense.
we didn't even mention Rosario Dawson as Mimi. Let's talk
Well,
about
we
her.
talked about it.
Yeah, well, she plays the neighbor underneath them who gets in. Is all interested in Roger. I will say that making this movie because the play takes place over one night. It is What is it? Christmas Eve or
Christmas Eve.
yep, into Christmas Day, and the movie decides to go from Christmas Eve of '89 to almost like New Year's of '90. Like it goes for a full
Yeah.
year.
The
And
show doesn't only take place on Christmas Eve. Like the first half of the show takes place on Christmas Eve, and then the second half, I think, takes place within a same amount of time. But I think that first half of the show is like only Christmas Eve.
And one of the things that they're able to do with the movie is montage, and they do a montage of the
Mhm.
time passing, and it's you see Collins taking care of Angel as
Yeah.
as they're getting progressively sicker, and you see like Mimi's in full withdrawal, like in the bathtub, and he's like holding on to her, like they show some of the darker sides of that stuff, but they're able to also show how
Mm.
much time is passing and how much like bond these people are creating. So I think that
Yeah.
that's one thing that they do better in the movie. Let's see. We have Wilson Jeremy Heredia as Angel.
Oh, yeah.
Did I get that right? Did I get that right?
Wilson, Jermaine, I think it's Heredia.
Heredia. Damn it. But I will say I do love the song "Today for You, Tomorrow for Me." That's just such a
Great
fun.
song.
He kills a dog, and like it's I can't.
Akita. Avita.
Vita, yeah. And the best callback is during Bohemian Rhapsody, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about the music and some of our
Not
favorites.
Bohemian Rhapsody, but I'll give it
Oh
to
no,
you.
damn it! What did La Vie Boheme? Holy crap! Hey, you know what? It is a Bohemian Rhapsody. Thank you very much.
Oh god, that was great.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you. Oh
You're
man,
welcome.
and Sean's gonna
Well,
edit now, so he's not gonna take that out.
I'm good. Wilson Jermaine Heredia was, I think, stole the show back, when it first came out. He was like the breakout star. I think he's the only one that won a Tony for his performance. And, you know, he is that character. Like, eh, there's certain characters that you can't possibly see anyone else portray.
Hmm.
Like, that character is him. He is that character. He was perfect casting, and, just absolutely continues to kill it in the movie. I think he's so good.
And he's another one that like you don't see too much of. Like,
No, again, I think a lot of them were stage, or I know Adam Pascal was not even an actor before he did Brad. He was a singer in band.
hmm.
So like I don't know if that's what he continued on doing after even being in Rent, but honestly, like Jesse L. Martin at the time of this movie, Jesse L. Martin was probably the biggest name
Yeah.
actor. But then obviously now next we
Hmm.
have a certain lady named Idina Menzel, who in the last 18 years has become like a god to many people,
You should
thanks
just
to
let it go.
some.
Just let it go, Sean.
Just let it go.
Just let it
Just
go.
let it go.
Well, so it's funny. She popped up on Glee. She played Rachel's mom, and
Hmm.
it was perfect casting. They look exactly alike. Like they can both sing. So I remember seeing her on there, and
Yeah, and then she's the original Elphaba in Wicked, which
mhm,
was her.
her
That put her into superstardom in the theater community. And then you would see her pop up in movies and some TV, as you just said, in Glee. I think she was in what's the Amy Adams Disney movie?
oh, it just popped up too.
Enchanted.
Enchanted. That's a good one.
Yeah, she was in that. So she's been around, and then she gets cast as the character of Elsa in Frozen, and it just propels her into superstardom.
Uh-huh. Because
I mean, she's
film wise, she has not been in a lot. After Rent,
no,
she's done like a couple of small things. She was in what, Beowulf? Really? That's funny. Yeah. But yeah, Frozen was the big one. Like she plays Elsa, and yeah, like Frozen. That's all she really needed. Like it's wild.
that's all she needs. I mean, it's crazy, and she really that's what she's built it on, and she's deserved it. She's one of the greatest singers ever.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
She's a god in the theater community. She doesn't look down on her like the Wicked or Rent. I mean, she owes her career to those two. I think she was in Uncut Gems. Was it Uncut Gems? She was in the Adam Sandler movie. Um,
Maybe.
but I mean, literally since this movie came out, she has become worldwide, recognized
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that.
We have Tracy Thomas as Joanne, who plays
Hmm.
the girl that Maureen left Mark for.
Fun fact,
Hit me.
she tried out for the show numerous times and was denied,
That's
and then
funny.
she gets the movie.
That's really fun. That's almost
She's fantastic too. She's got a great voice.
that's right up there with Ernie Hudson telling us the story about how he
Yes.
tried out for Ghostbusters the TV show and they wouldn't take him because he didn't sound enough like Winston. Yeah,
But I am Winston.
yeah. Charlie Chaplin once came in third place in a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. That's a true story. That actually happened. See, Cinematic Adventures, where we take all the best fun facts.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's fantastic. I really like the Tango Maureen, the two of them.
Hmm.
Apparently, the throwing of the jackets was something that they would do for like fun during rehearsals, and Chris Columbus liked it so much that he had them do it then.
Well, that's another the Tango Marine scene. The movie added the whole like, in his head moment where he's actually tangoing with a bunch of people and Marine.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good addition. I like that. I thought that was good.
And that song
Um,
also almost gave the movie an R rating because they dropped the F bomb in it twice. So
well,
they had to argue to the MPAA that it was like it's
yeah,
context. It's because so in movies you're allowed to use the F word. PG-13 movies get one F bomb, and then it depends on the context too. Usually it's some sort of exaggeration of something funny, but some movies are able to convince otherwise why they use it.
yeah.
Like
Chris Columbus had to be like, you're going to alienate a huge amount of fans of this movie that are not going to be able to see it
by
if you make it
changing
R.
and also by changing some of the
Yeah,
lyrics
the song. I mean, you can't do that. Even
another
even the strip club scene had to be cut a little, just a little, to not get an R rating.
yeah, what was it, The Social Network had to fight for two F-bombs being dropped.
Mm.
So like it's not unheard of and it happens, but like Marvel just had their first F-bomb in a movie with Guardians, which is still really funny. Just open the fucking door. Anyway, so she's great in it. She's not in it nearly as much. Like
Nah, she's the lesser character. Like she's in it. Like no, she's not as big as the other characters, but the time she's in it, she
she steals
she
it. Yeah,
shines.
she's good. And then we have Taye Diggs as Benny, who was the landlord of the building, and Mary's wealthy, buys the building that he used to live in with Collins, Roger, Maureen, and Mark,
Mhm.
and he turns into a snob.
Yeah, he does. And
But
Ty Diggs plays him great.
you know what sucks though? Like he was ready to not only he bought the building, and he was going
Mhm.
to renovate it, create studios for them to work in and to live in, and they were like, "You're a terrible person." He's like, "What?" Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. He's kicking all those people out of their houses. I get it. I do. But also, they haven't paid their rents. That's the whole point of the title. Like they owe him rent. That's what the first opening song
Well,
is.
it's the whole squatter thing that was going on back then. I mean, that was huge. Like all the vacant buildings in New York City that were happening in that time in the East Side, and it was crazy going on. What was going on back then?
But I like how he's like quote unquote the bad guy of it, but like he's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do these great things and you guys can come with me. And they're like, no, we
yeah,
stand
but
by
he
our
doesn't help
principle.
himself. He's a dick.
Yeah.
He's like not the greatest. He's not that kind, and he,
It's
as you've said, he becomes obsessed with money. That's
so
basically
does he and Mimi have a thing?
they they talk about it during La Boheme, like they must have had a fling or something like that, like months before the show starts. But that's about it. And then she's with him after Angel dies for like a hot second,
Yeah, but does
and
that
then
mean
that's
like
really
does
it.
he divorce his wife?
I don't know. They never really dive too deep into that one.
Yeah,
They really don't.
really
So,
weird. But
uh,
so we'll go through the plot very briefly. Basically, all of these people come together, and the movie is just the story of these 8 people. And
mhm.
for the most part, like each character has their arc. So Mark eventually sells footage, and works for a show called Buzzline or something like that. And then
Yeah.
he decides this isn't what I want to do, so I quit, and I'm going to make my own film. Roger falls in love with Mimi, and the two of them eventually do split up because she's still using. And
He's been just trying to write this one song throughout the whole
is it just me, or
show.
is that song at the end, Your Eyes, just such a letdown compared to One Song Glory?
Well, yeah, I mean, One Song Glory is like one of the best songs ever written, in my opinion. I love that song.
Like
So, yeah,
that song
anything that,
was like Your Eyes was so lame. And it like brings her out of her death stupor, and she's like,
oh,
I was
yeah.
in heaven, but I heard your song, and Angel told me to come. I'm like, that song wouldn't have done it, lady. You wouldn't need that song. You need that song, a defibrillator, and a shot of adrenaline. But anywho, I digress, because Roger is actually my favorite character of the story. But yeah, it's just I can't that last part. Mimi stops doesn't stop using drugs. I don't know. We don't really know what happens with her. But they get back together at the end, so it's nice. Um, Angel does die, and that's a big catalyst for the second half of the movie. And they do watch a film in Angel's honor at the end when they're
Mhm.
singing "No Day But Today," or the finale be. Uh, Collins doesn't get his job back, but he does manage to reprogram an ATM machine so that when you type in the code Angel, you get money from it, which is awesome. Do Maureen and Joanne get back together?
Yeah, I don't know if they're together, but they're on speaking terms at
Yeah.
the end. So like, because they're the ones that find Mimi, uh, you know,
Oh yeah, that's right.
basically almost dead.
Yeah.
And then Mark is Mark. He does his little movie at the end there, and you don't see Benny at all. I mean,
No.
I'm not. I know in the show he's at Angel's funeral as well in the movie, and then the movie you hear the voicemail where he sends to like Mark or Roger that he hasn't seen Mimi for like a couple weeks and he's worried. But after that, you don't see him again.
Right. So, I mean, like the movie ends on like a pretty upbeat note.
Yeah, and that's the that's the ending's a little unbelievable,
Mm.
but it's the one I guess negative about the show to me was the ending. But
Yeah.
hey,
All right.
but
So, since we're getting towards the end, favorite songs from
oh,
yeah, I'll give you my top 5, all right? In no particular order. I love
okay,
One Song Glory. I'm just looking at the track list. One
yeah,
Song Glory, Another Day, La Vie Boheme, obviously. And I'll count La Vie Boheme and La Vie Boheme B as one song.
yeah, it's the same song.
Let's see. I do like Today for You, and I'll go with the title Rent.
Yeah, um, Rent is I think it's the best song of the show. I mean, literally, you're not even a minute into the show, and then boom, that song just kicks in, and it just shoots adrenaline through your body.
Hmm.
And I don't think you ever fully come down from that adrenaline high during the whole show. And I think that's why that song is so fantastic. So that's my favorite song of the show. One Song Glory is number two, La Vie Boheme number three, Seasons of Love number four, and I probably would go. They're all good, but I'd probably gotta go. I'll cover you because I just think that's a fantastic song.
Huh. You know what song I just don't care for in this film, and probably in the if it's in the show also, Over the Moon.
Over the Moon is it's not my favorite, but
It's just so it's
it's
so randomly.
it's
It's
it's it's that's why I like it. It's so just hogwash. Like it makes no sense, but that's just what her character does, or like her performance theater is just that random. So it's a definitely a song you're kind of like, I don't get this song doesn't mean anything. Has nothing to do with the plot.
mhm,
It's just, except for the little nods to Benny or something like that. But it's just still very good. Just not one of my go-tos.
I'm with you. All right.
Santa Fe is another good one. I mean, they're all good. They're
Yeah.
literally, I
Open up.
don't think there's one bad song in this show.
Yeah, like I said, Over the
Um,
Moon's really just the only one that I'm like, whatever. But Star City rating for
I give this movie a 3.5.
I think I can get behind that, Sean.
It's not perfect. It's, I think it's well made. I can't put my finger on what I feel like is missing. There's a part of me that says they should have made it bigger. They should have, maybe cast more well-known actors in it to like really rejuvenate it and start fresh. But then I'm like, that's not the show. The
Right.
show is those actors. They are what brought Rem to the stage. And to have them sing those songs again was great. You obviously add in Rosario Dawson and Tracy Thoms, who do very, very good. So it's just kind of like you work with what you got. I thought Chris Columbus did a good job directing it. It's well made. It's got that very grainy '80s feel to it. It's not over the top look to it. I think again, I don't know where everybody was that didn't go see this movie because there's a million Rent fans out there. There are
Hmm.
people who would go day after day to see the show. So I don't know why the movie no one went to go see it.
We'll
Yeah,
never know,
never
Sean.
know.
We'll never
We'll
know.
never know.
But that's going to wrap us up. We do have our fan feedback Friday. And this week, what are your holiday movie choices this year? Sean, what's your go-to holiday movie choice this year?
Oh, the usuals: Miracle on 34th Street, Muppet Christmas Carol, Rudolph, and probably White Christmas are like my go-tos.
We just watched Spirited with Will
Yeah, you
Ferrell
told me
and,
that.
and Ryan Reynolds, and it was
It's a
surprisingly
Christmas
good.
Carol, right?
Yeah, but it's like
Okay.
it's almost a sequel to Christmas Carol. Like it shows that after Ebenezer Scrooge, they also did like these ghosts did this to thousands, if not millions of other
Oh, okay.
people, and it's really interesting. Especially there's a little twist to it that you find out in the middle, and it's pretty good. But and the two of them,
Okay.
surprisingly, not only do they have great chemistry, but they can both sing. So that was a plus. Let's see. So that we just watched. But let's see. Also, Paul Blart Mall Cop. That's a Christmas movie, just so you know.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what else is a Christmas movie that we've never talked about but we love? Just Friends.
Oh, yeah, that's
He's
right.
home for
That's
Christmas.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So next year when we're thinking about Christmas movies, there we go. Let's see. Some of the ones that we have, our good friend Brendan.
And I
Muppet.
swear.
I know, right? Muppet Christmas Carol, Violent Night, The Holiday, of course. We got from
Oh, the
Ron.
holiday's a good one, yeah.
From Ronnie, the Nightmare Before Christmas, Elf, Home Alone, and the Santa Claus. Shocking. And from our friend Evie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You can't not watch
Christmas
it.
Vacation is a classic. We haven't watched that one yet. We're probably gonna watch a few movies tonight and then maybe watch one tomorrow before we go out. But it's just we don't have the time. That's the thing. It's getting in front of the TV and sitting down and watching, an hour and a half, sometimes a longer movie. It's a struggle.
Yeah, I'm with
But
you.
Muppet Christmas Carol, Christmas Eve, that's our go-to. That's what we're gonna be watching tomorrow night before, going to bed.
I support that, Sean. But that is going to wrap us up. We do hope everybody had a safe and happy holiday season. We have more content coming hopefully in the new year because obviously Sean is the heart of the entire network, and shows
Yeah.
don't happen without him, as he told me.
They don't.
So that's that. Yeah, solo podcasting starting 2024. Anywho,
All right. I'll take the reins. It's okay.
yeah. Oh, for Christmas rains. Like
Numbers are
Santa.
gonna go all the way up now.
All the way up to the triple digits. Anyway, that's gonna wrap
I'll
us.
convince Melanie to come onto the podcast.
Oh, good luck. That's gonna wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul,
I'm Sean.
and we'll see you guys next time.